Who do you even talk to about something like this? Who would believe you? No one that I know. People are quick to assume you have some sort of undiagnosed mental condition. Look, I'm not saying that I don't. How would I know? It's just that I've never had issues like this before. I've never had an experience like the ones I've had in the past few days, and I'm going to be honest with you here. It's driving me fucking batshit. Have I considered seeing a shrink? Yes. Have I tried getting some extra sleep? Yes. Have I tried jumping off a bridge to see what would happen if I do? Not yet. But I'm fucking close. I know I need to calm down and think rationally, but it's hard. What if I jump from somewhere really high and just keep falling forever? What if I hit the ground and just wake up somewhere else? Or I wake up someone else. Now you see how this shit is fucking with my head? Am I real? Are you real? I can see the tree in my backyard through my window. Is that real? I'll try to explain because I'm guessing my lunatic raving doesn't make much sense. A few days ago, I was in the kitchen with my wife. She was making coffee and we were talking. I had said something to her and I can't remember what, and I was waiting for her to reply. She didn't reply, and I thought it was because she was busy pouring hot water into a cup and didn't want to be distracted. Then, she just kept pouring and pouring. The cup overflowed and spilled hot fluid all over the counter. It ran off the counter and splashed all over her feet. It was burning the hell out of her feet, and it must have hurt really bad. She didn't even react. The moment I got over my shock, I leapt in and shouted at her to stop, grabbing the kettle and taking it away while trying to avoid burning my own feet. My wife was just standing there in the exact same pose of pouring water into a cup, like she was just frozen there and staring ahead into nothing. I was mildly freaked out by this and asked her repeatedly what was wrong. Eventually she spoke. "Hey honey, how was work?" I stared at her after she kissed me on the cheek and smiled. Then her face scrunched up into a mask of pain and she screamed. She finally registered her burnt feet. Distracted by this, I helped her sit herself down and get relaxed while I called a friend who was a retired nurse. He came to tend to her burns. I had a beer with him. After he was done, he asked me how she had burnt her feet. I told him she had spilt hot coffee on them, and for a moment I considered mentioning the other weirdness, but decided not to. He would have probably just given me a weird look and asked if I was getting enough sleep. After he left, I went back to the living room where Emily was sitting with her feet propped up and bandaged. "You know I'm still on leave, right?" I asked her. "Yeah, till Wednesday. Why?" "In the kitchen you asked me how was work, and you kissed me on the cheek like I had just gotten home. What was that all about?" She looked at me with a genuinely confused expression. I know her very well, and it really unnerved me to know that she had no clue what I was talking about. "Why would I do that?" "I don't know. That's why I'm asking. You really don't remember?" "Why would there even be something to remember? I literally see no reason why I would say that. Are you sure you didn't hear me wrong?" "Yes, you looked me right in the eyes and asked me how was work, right after you burnt your feet." "That's ridiculous. You must have misheard me." "I didn't mishear you, Emily. I'm not nuts. I know what I heard, okay?" "Oh, so I am? Is that it? I'm nuts?" "I didn't say that. You didn't have to." At this point, she stormed out of the living room without another word. I was going to say something about her walking around on her bandaged feet, but I decided not to. She would have probably just ignored me anyway. After that, things were quiet for a few days. Emily and I gotten over our squabble, and the whole incident in the kitchen was practically forgotten. Then I went to the grocery store. How often does something unusual happen at a mundane place like a grocery store? I suppose weird things can happen just about anywhere, but this was downright bizarre. It fucked up my head for days, maybe even for good. What would you do if a determined old lady started yelling at you in a store out of nowhere? She just came right up to me while I was getting some milk and stared at me. I tried to pretend like I hadn't noticed her. I hoped that she would go away, but she didn't. She just stood there. Eventually, to my dismay, she walked up to me and spoke. "I knew it was your face." "I'm sorry." "You're the one I saw when I woke up." "I don't understand what you mean." "It's like I was sleeping. It's like I'm still sleeping. All of the time. Sometimes I wake up. One time I woke up, I could see you. You are also awake. Why don't you remember me? I really don't know what you're talking about. I think you have me confused with someone else. I have to go now. Please leave me alone. I tried to walk away quickly from her, intending to check out with the things I had and abandoning the rest, but she followed me and began shouting. You have to remember me. You need to wake up. We need to wake up. There's something important we have to do. Her eyes were wild and spit was flying every time she spoke. She was almost beside herself. At this point, I started running, abandoning all my groceries. I just wanted to get the hell out of there. Once I had outrun the crazy old woman and was safely in my car on my way home, I looked at myself in the mirror and shouted, "What the fuck?" a few times. I was completely freaked out. Sure, she may have just been a crazy old lady, but the look in her eyes was something else. After I got home, I decided not to mention this to Emily. She would have said I was just overreacting, and she might have been right. I don't know. I make too many assumptions, don't I? I'm trying to work on that. It's hard. Eventually, I decided I needed to take some time off away from work and away from home. I opted to go see a movie. I know, it can seem silly to go to the movies alone, but Emily didn't feel like joining me, and I said, screw it, and I went. I felt better as soon as I got into the cinema. The smell of popcorn and the whir of the machines was soothing, and I couldn't help but smile. Even though I was alone, I was happy to be away from things, even for a few short hours. I got my ticket, some popcorn and a drink, and made my way to number 4. There were some people already there, and they were talking and laughing, waiting for the movie to start. I sat down to wait, relaxing and starting on my popcorn early. The place was almost full by the time the lights went out and the voices immediately died down to a low murmur. I'll be honest, it wasn't that interesting of a movie itself. I was just happy to be somewhere that wasn't at home or at work. I ended up dozing off after some time, and when I snapped awake again, I jerked involuntarily and dropped my popcorn. It fell all over the floor in front of me and the person next to me. I gave them a hushed apology and bent down to clean up my popcorn when I noticed something strange. There was dead silence in the cinema, other than the sound of the movie. Not the weirdest thing I know, but no one was even moving an inch. Everyone sat stock still, staring. Some stared straight ahead as if they were watching the movie, but others stared off in different directions at nothing at all. A woman sitting next to me inhaled deeply, and out of nowhere she stood up and screamed at the top of her voice. I shrank back in my chair, abandoning all attempts to clean up my popcorn, when someone further down started screaming as well. At some point, everyone was screaming and it started flailing around madly. People were pushing each other and yelling absurd things like, "Oh God, what the hell did I just see? And where the fuck are we?" Judging from what they were screaming about, it was as if they had all woken up from the same nightmare. There was a mass panic for a few moments before it got freakier. Everyone suddenly froze right where they stood. They didn't move an inch, as if they had been put on pause. I simply sat there, silently horrified, as everyone went back to normal. Those that were standing went back to their seats and they all resumed watching the movie. Me? I got the fuck out of there. I don't know if something is wrong with me or if something really fucked up is going on here and I don't understand it. I wish I knew someone else going through this so I could talk to someone who doesn't think I'm crazy. I can't even convince myself that I'm not crazy. The reason being that I had a really weird dream last night. All I remember is that it was very dark, and I was walking somewhere. I can't remember where, but I could barely see. I remember being able to see a glinting circular object in the darkness. It was similar to my bathroom mirror. So I thought I was just dreaming, and that I was in my own house. But that doesn't make sense. I felt dazed and disoriented, and I tried to look at my reflection in the mirror. There was something there. But it wasn't my reflection. Something else was there, watching me. I could barely make out the features, but I could see a pair of strange eyes. How do I know they were eyes? As I was staring at the eyes through the darkness, they blinked. I think it was some sort of window, and someone was watching me from the other side. I felt so awful, so weak and dizzy, but also felt absolutely real. I started questioning everything, and I find myself doubting it all. I don't know what's real anymore. Wow, what a great story. If you're interested in seeing the original post, please see the description. And until next time, remember, when staring into the abyss is staring back at you. Good night.